Chapter 187. I trust you've been well since we've last met, and love at first sight. Wang Dong's voice sounded a little strange as he asked, do you think my hair looks better longer or shorter? Of course it looks better longer. Who are you? Blurted almost instantaneously. When Wang Dong asked the question, who are you? Recalled the time when they had unleashed the raiment of light together. The flowing long hair that resembled tidal waves gave Who are you an overly strong impression. Oh. Wang Dong stared at Hua Yuao's lackadaisical eyes and asked, what are you thinking about? Hua Yuao shook his head. He sighed and said, I was thinking about the fourth martial soul fusion skill that we used during the last Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. Our solitary dance amidst the frost, raiment of light. Do you still remember? Do you remember the shadows that we projected? How nice would it have been if you were a girl? You would have been stunning. I feel like you were the blueprint for the figures that we conjured, except I have no clue why you became a female. Wang Dong's face blushed faintly, and he said with a bashful voice, so what if I was a girl? What does that have to do with you? Hua Yuao was still reminiscing on the enchanting scene that was still vivid in his memory. He didn't pay attention to the change in Wang Dong's voice as he chuckled. Of course it has something to do with me. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the first moonlight. It's better that I benefit from this, and not outsiders. Wang Dong laughed and said, if you really think that way, I'll introduce my sister to you after we finish this exchange program. She looks just like me, and she looks very similar to my projection during our raiment of light. Hua Yuao's eyes sparkled. Really? That's great. You're such a good bro. He hugged Wang Dong across the shoulder as he spoke, and passionate warmth flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. Wang Dong snapped. I didn't think you were so big on physical appearance as well. Is it that important for someone to be good-looking? Hua Yuao rolled his eyes and snapped back. Those that ask that question are either extremely good-looking or terribly ugly. Those who lack good looks also lack self-confidence, and maybe they lack the bravery to try. And those like you are just arrogant. Physical appearance is the first thing people notice when they first meet each other. How many people can get to know each other? That level of interaction requires time. Physical appearance is a way of choosing who to interact with. Of course, looks aren't absolute, but every person knows what he or she wants. This is probably why love at first sight exists. Wang Dong glanced at him and said, your theory is very persuasive. It seems like you've been getting your fill of girls inside the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. With abilities like yours, I'm sure many girls have a crush on you. Let's talk inside. Hua Yuao placed his index finger on his mouth. They were back at the dormitory, and Hua Yuao opened the door before he dragged Wang Dong inside. You really do. Wang Dong said, amused. Hua Yuao closed the door, pulled over a chair and pressed Wang Dong down into it. Sit down. I know you are a clean freak, and I stay here alone, so it's a little messy. I'm going to clean up. There's no need for that. Am I really that particular? Wang Dong chuckled. Hua Yuao gave a serious nod in his direction, but he couldn't help but laugh out loud as he said, yes. Wang Dong was furious. Then go ahead and clean up by yourself. Can't believe I was going to help you. Hua Yuao said, that's all right. I can do it myself. He went to work as he spoke. He was the only one living here, just like he had said. He was also an exchange student, so teachers didn't come to inspect the cleanliness of his dorm room. There wasn't much clothing and whatnot in the room, but it was strewn with all sorts of materials for forging soul tools, to the point where there wasn't much space to walk. He was concerned about Wang Dong's religious preference for cleanliness, so he hurriedly packed up his room. Thankfully, storage-type soul tools existed in this world, so cleaning up wasn't that difficult. Wang Dong said, I can tell from the situation of your dorm room that you have been rather hardworking over these past 2 years. Your spiritual power is also much more powerful, and even your soul power contains tinges of spiritual power. Hua Yuao laughed. Isn't it the same for you? I can feel that you've reached the threshold. Yes. Wang Dong nodded his head faintly. Let's not talk about all that. You haven't answered my question when we were still outside. We haven't met for 2 years. Do you really have something going on with the girls here? And do you still want me to introduce you to my sister? Hua Yuao shook his head and answered. Something did happen, but it's not what you think. He continued talking as he cleaned up his room. I was assigned to a laboratory when I first arrived, and several students were also part of it. I had a senior, and her name was Juzi. When he brought up her name, the deepest recesses of Hua Yuao's spirit quivered involuntarily. Even though he was well aware that the two of them were like two parallel lines, he couldn't deny that the young girl that planted her first kiss on his cheek left quite an impression in his memory. Juzi. Wang Dong softly repeated her name as he watched the subtle changes in Hua Yuao's eyes. The two of them had been apart for more than 2 years, but he knew Hua Yuao too well. He could tell from Hua Yuao's voice that this girl had left a deep mark in his heart. Wang Dong himself wasn't like the proud youth that he was 2 years ago, and had become much more mature. He didn't interrupt, but quietly listened to Hua Yuao because he could feel that even though 2 years had passed, time hadn't placed a wedge in his relationship with Hua Yuao. Otherwise, why would Hua Yuao confide in him just like that? Yes, her name was Juzi. She was very pretty, and her complexion was stunning. That was the first impression that she gave me. However, she was just so mysterious, and even now, I don't even know where she's gone, or what secrets she had. She said that she was leaving, and she wanted to give me a present for our transient acquaintance. Hua Yuao's emotional voice paused momentarily. Wang Dong was listening intently, and the bottom of his eyes started becoming moist. This girl was so pitiable. No wonder you have such chemistry with her. There are many similarities in your backgrounds and experiences. What present did she leave for you? Hua Yuao whispered. She kissed my cheek. She said that was the first kiss that she had given, but she said she couldn't kiss my lips without my permission. She said she hoped that I would leave my first kiss for the girl of my dreams. Wang Dong trembled, and a strange light pulsed from his eyes. She was so nice to you, always thinking about you. Since you were clear-headed back then, why didn't you consider getting together with her? I think age isn't a problem for a soul master's all. She's so kind and so pitiful. Did you not feel anything for her? Not even a little bit. Hua Yuao lowered his head and stared at the ground. His brief acquaintance with Juzi was long gone, but he could vividly remember every detail. I thought I would be moved as well. In fact, I did feel something for her, but I realized that all I felt for Juzi was compassion and sympathy, and a little bit of pity. I want to thank her because she helped me understand what a romantic relationship means. Wang Dong. Hey. Wang Dong responded, confused. What's wrong? Hua Yuao stared into his eyes and said, I want to say something, but you cannot laugh at me. Wang Dong said, what is it? Hua Yuao said, when we used the solitary dance amidst the frost, raiment of light for the first time, the projection that we conjured was heavily imprinted into my mind. Juzi moved me, so I finally understood what I felt inside. It may sound a little ridiculous, but I'm afraid I fell in love, at first sight, with the projection that we created. Wang Dong's eyes widened. You. Hua Yuao's eyes flowed with his memories. When Juzi kissed me that day, I was truly touched, and I thought I was beginning to feel something for her. However, just when I wanted to ask her to stay, the projection from the raiment of light surfaced in my mind. I knew then that the projection had been occupying my heart this whole time, even though she was only a virtual entity. However, she dominated the space in my heart that was reserved for love, and I can no longer accommodate anything else. It was Juzi who helped me reconcile the feelings in my heart, even if our lives hadn't been two parallel lines, I don't think I would have been able to accept her. Wang Dong stared at Hua Yuao in shock, and he seemed to phase out a little. Hua Yuao recovered and said with a smile on his face, you're a true brother. You didn't laugh at me. Now that I think about it, it does sound a little incredulous. Sometimes, rationality in the human heart cannot be controlled. So, if you have a sister that looks just like our projection, I may indeed feel something for her. Of course, that's assuming she can accept me, and I can like her as well. How about you? Have you been getting any action at Shrek? I remember that Xiao Hinchen's sister, Meng Hinchen, crushed on you at some point. Wang Dong didn't open his mouth. He shook his head lightly, stood up, walked toward the dorm room's window and opened it. Fresh air immediately billowed into the room, and the dense and poignant smell of metal dissipated. Wang Dong, are you alright? Who are you? Our hurried came next to him. He had a feeling that something wasn't right with Wang Dong's emotions when he finished recounting his story with Juzi. Wang Dong stared out the window, and a warm smile appeared on his face. Your feeling is right. I have reached the bottleneck at rank 60. However, I need a suitable soul ring. You're my best buddy. I am here to visit you, and I am also here to ask you to follow me back home for a little while, because suitable soul beasts for me only exist near my home. You can keep me company, so let's go together. You can return before the end of your school holidays, and we can meet again back at Shrek 3 months later. What do you think? Who are you? Al was taken aback. You mean you want me to follow you back home to find a soul ring? Wang Dong spun around and stared at him with his big, powdery blue eyes. Can you do that for me? We haven't seen each other for so long, and I don't want to part with you just like that. If I leave just like that, it will be another few months before we meet again. Furthermore, there will probably be more things and tasks waiting for you when you return to Shrek. All right. I'll accompany you. Who are you? Al agreed without hesitation. Wang Dong smiled. This smile actually dazzled and stunned Hua Yuao. It could be because Wang Dong had let his hair grow long, but in that moment, Hua Yuao felt like the young girl projected during their first raiment of light had appeared before his eyes once again. You're so crazy about cultivation. I'm honored to have someone like you accompany me. Wang Dong giggled as he spoke. Hua Yuao chortled and said, they aren't mutually exclusive. Do you actually think my cultivation speed will slow down when we are together? I understand a lot more about the sovereign's descent, and I can take this chance and time to tell you all about it. The smile on Wang Dong's face turned into a look of resentment. Enough about that. Is there anything else on your mind besides cultivation? My sister may not like you if you keep on like this. Hua Yuao said. Hua Yuao said, oh yes, will I be able to see your sister if I follow you back home? Wang Dong shook his head. No, you won't. My sister is traveling outside. You'll have to wait until we return to Shrek. You may get a chance then. My sister says she wants to try for Shreks in a courtyard in the next academic year. Hua Yuao said, oh, we'll meet when the time comes. Then, Wang Dong shot him a look and said, you don't seem so eager. Hua Yuao shrugged and replied, what's the point of being eager? What makes you think that my appearance will definitely attract your sister? Furthermore, your sister doesn't have the camaraderie and affinity that we share. We'll see where destiny leads us. Wang Dong continued pursuing the issue. Does that mean that if my sister looks like our projection from the raiment of light, and she has camaraderie and affinity with you, you will be moved? Hua Yuao chuckled and said, of course. All right, let's not talk about these frivolous things. How have things been in the academy over these 2 years? Wang Dong said, everything's normal. The Soul Tool department is developing rapidly, and the Soul Engineering Institution is almost complete. Students from the Soul Tool department have begun going through individual assessments since last year. Their assessments regarding martial souls are a lot easier than those of the martial soul department, while they are more focused on understanding of soul tools. Oh, the materials regarding soul tools that you sent back to the academy have been impactful. Except I haven't seen the soul tool department create any similar soul tools yet. Dean Yan keeps saying that the soul tool department has been eating too much of the budget over these past 2 years. The Tang Sect has been officially established. However, eldest senior brother and third senior brother are the only ones who have been working at it. Oh, both of them broke through rank 60, and fourth senior sister and fifth senior sister are a few ranks away. But I don't think they can break through before the competition. How about you? I can feel that your improvement in soul power isn't that big. Hua Yuao answered, my spiritual power has improved quite a bit, but my soul power improvements have paled in comparison. However, I know how to boost it when we return to the academy. You have been improving exponentially. You actually caught up with the others, and have surpassed even fourth senior sister and fifth senior sister. Wang Dong laughed and said, our twin martial souls have an advantage later in the cultivation process. I have been cultivating with you the whole time before this, and our Haodong power isn't something that normal soul masters possess. Hua Yuao asked, how much has the Tang Sect developed at this point? He was extremely concerned about the Tang Sect. This sentiment didn't arise just because he practiced the Tang Sect's secret techniques. It was also because Bei Bei and Xiaoyu took him to Shrek Academy so that he could join the Tang Sect. It could be said that his entire life had changed ever since that moment, and both Shrek Academy and the Tang Sect were very important to him, while he could even be leaning towards the Tang Sect. Wang Dong said, the framework has been established. We have enough space, but we lack the manpower. The people that you sent back have been pretty handy. Eldest senior brother remarked that they are powerful and extremely hardworking, especially the girl called Nana. Both eldest senior brother and third senior brother like her a lot. What's your relationship with this girl anyway? Hua Yuao forced a smile and said, that's enough. Stop your weirdness. Nana has also had a tough life, and if she can remain at the Tang Sect like she is now, then it will be a pretty good home for her. He briefly explained how he had met Nana and the entire process to Wang Dong, and Wang Dong listened while he furrowed his eyebrows continuously. So, the information regarding the Holy Ghost Church came to us because of her. I've participated in the Guardian's operations several times over the years, but I never once saw a trace of that Holy Ghost Church. They have been hiding themselves too well. Furthermore, if they don't commit a crime, it's harder for us to track them down. Hua Yuao nodded and said, the fox will always reveal its tail. Let's continue discussing Tang Sect. Wang Dong said, once the framework was established, eldest senior brother gathered us around for a discussion. We had a consensus that the Tang Sect's development would have to start from our finances and resources. No sect would be able to expand and develop without enough money and a source of income. Furthermore, we are just starting out, and our foundations are still thin. We will have to use soul tools to support our finances. The blueprints that you sent back to eldest senior brother are under development after eldest senior brother discussed the matter with the soul tool department's 2 deans. The first batch received extremely high praise after it was released, especially the Juga Divine Crossbow Cannon. We received our first purchase order, and we're to manufacture 40 Juga Divine Crossbow Cannons and set them up within Shrek City. Hua Yuao said, the Juga Divine Crossbow Cannon is based on our Tang Sect's Juga Divine Crossbow, except I added some soul tool principles into the formation arrays. Its pros are that it's powerful and easy to control, while it can cover large areas. However, its weaknesses are equally conspicuous. The cannon shells are extremely expensive to make. We will have to use stationary soul cannon shells so that we can achieve the goal of allowing normal citizens to operate the soul tool. Highly explosive shells are the preferred choice. This isn't a small investment. Wang Dong said proudly, you don't have to worry about all that. Firstly, the academy won't throw themselves into war. Secondly, Shrek has many centuries of foundations, and can be considered incredibly wealthy. This bit of money won't be a problem. Eldest senior brother treasures the blueprints that you sent back. He separated the manufacturing process into several parts before he took everything back and assembled it himself. He's extremely careful. Hua Yuao smiled faintly and said, he's indeed meticulous. The Tang Sect will definitely grow exponentially more powerful with his leadership. Wang Dong heaved a sigh and said, but he isn't happy at all. The smile on his face has disappeared ever since teacher Xiaoyu vanished, and he has become a lot skinnier. He's almost 20, but he looks a lot older than he actually is. Hua Yuao rubbed the corners of his eyes and said, that's a big problem, indeed. Teacher Xiaoyu has been gone for so long, yet we have had no news of her whatsoever. Something must have happened to her. If not, she would have returned to find us. Wang Dong's face changed a little and said, don't say that in front of him. Third senior brother mentioned that before and told him to keep an open mind, and that if it just can't work out he can find another person. Eldest senior brother's temperament is so gentle, yet he almost fell out with third senior brother. They are best buddies. Hua Yuao sighed and said, let's help him search for her once we return. I know hopes are slim, but we still have to try our best. Where exactly are you, teacher Xiaoyu? You have to be alive. If not, they had spent 2 years away from each other, and there were just too many things to talk about. They discussed the Tang Sects in Shrek Academy, and their topic eventually changed to their own cultivation. The sky turned grey as they continued chatting away. A knock on the door interrupted their conversation. It was Hikaru and Fanu. They were enjoying their school holidays, and the exchange students from Shrek didn't create much trouble or disturbance over the past 2 years. So the teachers from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy weren't that strict with them anymore. The 4 of them left the academy that night, found a nice restaurant, and ate a delicious meal. Hua Yuao asked Fanu for permission to let him and Wang Dong train in the outside world for a little while. He initially thought Fanu wouldn't agree so easily, or he would perhaps reduce the time they were allowed to spend outside. He didn't expect Fanu to agree to his request without hesitation, and Fanu even told him that he didn't have to be too worried about coming back on time. The exchange program was reaching its end anyway, and Hua Yuao was due to return to Shrek in another 3 months. months after the holidays. However, he still had to come back so that he could officially complete the exchange program and finish the necessary paperwork. Fanu had always doted on Hua Yuao. Teachers would typically be worried about their students' lack of effort, but their relationship was the complete opposite. Fanu thought that this student of his was just too hardworking. Over the past 2 years inside the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, Hua Yuao had sent back several thousand soul tool blueprints. That was without discussing the other things he had done. It could be said that Hua Yuao had produced every soul tool they could recognize and had seen before in his blueprints, even though that didn't include the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's treasured and exotic soul tools. Hua Yuao's contributions were enough to advance Shrek Academy's soul tool department's research by at least 100 years. Elderson had mentioned before in one of his reply letters that Hua Yuao was already considered a true hero within Shrek, and nobody could rival his contributions to the academy. He had proposed to the Sea Gods Pavilion that Hua Yuao be given a seat on the council, and that motion had subsequently passed. Even though he wasn't back at the academy yet, Hua Yuao was already a part of the Sea Gods Pavilion. He was equal to Fanu, who was the soul tool department's vice dean. In terms of status within the academy, he was perhaps even higher. Fanu was a class 8 soul engineer, and he naturally understood how difficult it was to design formation arrays and create blueprints, even though Hua Yuao had a spiritual type martial soul, and thus enjoyed a considerable advantage. However, he could only design and innovate at night as he had to forge soul tools and conduct research in the day. It could be said that it was considered fortunate if Hua Yuao could enjoy 4 to 6 hours of rest every day, and those hours were spent in meditation. Hua Yuao's soul power didn't improve much over the past 2 years. Fanu knew him too well, and he could sense that Hua Yuao was drastically different, to the point where even Fanu felt a little confused and dumbfounded when Hua Yuao talked about some principles and concepts regarding soul tools. Sun Swen once said that Hua Yuao would be a class 7 soul engineer if he had enough soul power. How would Jinghing Chen of the illustrious Virtue Hall feel if he had known that this exchange program brought him so much trouble? This was the very reason why Fanu agreed to Hua Yuao's request to travel outside with Wang Dong without hesitation. His only wish was for Hua Yuao and Wang Dong to relax a little bit, so that his tightened nerves over these few years could also relax a little. Hua Yuao had entered Shrek Academy when he was 11, and now he was 17, but Hua Yuao had accomplished feats of research and study that normal individuals couldn't do in 20 years. Not only was Hua Yuao a genius, but he was also a hardworking student who possessed unwavering determination and fighting spirit. Dinner ended in this jovial atmosphere. The sky was already dark by the time they walked out of the restaurant. Fanu asked, "Have you found a place to stay, Wang Dong?" Wang Dong shook his head and said, "No, I came to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy as soon as I reached Radiant City." Fanu frowned and said, "It's late, so I don't think the academy will allow you inside. It won't be easy to find a place to stay now." Hikaiju chuckled and said, "You don't have to worry about that, teacher. With little Junior around, the guards will never detect him. Let Wang Dong stay with him overnight." Fanu was stunned momentarily. His main focus was soul tool research, so he was more familiar with Hua Yuao's mastery with soul tools. Hua Yuao laughed along and glanced at Wang Dong. "My imitation has improved a lot. Take a look, teacher." Hua Yuao didn't even release his martial soul, but the ever beside him contorted subtly as he spoke, and Wang Dong vanished into thin air. Fanu was astonished. That's your imitation? How did you make him disappear?" Hua Yuao laughed. "I didn't make him vanish into thin air. I simply transformed him into my shadow. Simply put, I use spiritual power to tweak the refraction of light so that people can't see him. However, the effective range is limited, and he can't be touched, because he will be discovered otherwise." Fanu said, "That's incredible enough. It's like the art of stealth." Hua Yuao said, "Maybe not, because his aura is still there. An adversary that's powerful enough can detect Wang Dong's existence just by perceiving his surroundings. However, this is definitely enough to deceive the guards." The 4 of them returned to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, and Wang Dong went completely undetected. They returned to the dorm, and Hua Yuao withdrew his soul skill. They closed the door, but the excitement on Hua Yuao's face was still there. Today could be considered his happiest day over the past 2 years, and he threw his soul tool research that he toiled over from day to day to the back of his mind. "Wang Dong, do you feel like we have returned to the days inside our dormitory at Shrek Academy?" Wang Dong turned back towards him. The sky was completely dark at this point, and Hua Yuao only switched on a single light on the wall, so the room was a little dimly lit. 2 pairs of eyes stared at each other, but Wang Dong seemed to be subtly avoiding his gaze for some reason. "It's getting late. We should sleep soon. We will leave early in the morning tomorrow. My home is quite far away." Hua Yuao nodded and said, "You can bathe first. I'm sorry, but you'll have to sleep on the same bed as me tonight." Wang Dong glowered. "In your dreams, nobody's going to sleep on the same bed as you tonight. You're sleeping on the floor and I'm sleeping on the bed. Do you even know how to treat your guests?" Hua Yuao laughed and said, "That's enough. You. I wonder who was at that bald and cried when I left back then, and insisted that we sleep on the same bed that night. What, have you forgotten over the past 2 years?" Wang Dong blushed and said, "Nonsense. Nobody was bawling or crying. Move over. I want to sleep alone anyway. We are grown up. What would people say if they saw 2 grown men sleeping on the same bed?" He dashed into the bathroom to bathe as he spoke. Hua Yuao mumbled under his breath exasperatedly. Has his misophobia gotten worse? Still, he was truly elated that Wang Dong had come to visit him today, so he would accommodate him no matter what requests he had. He didn't lack blankets and mattresses, and he pulled one from his storage-type soul tool that they typically used when traveling outside and spread it out next to the bed. He arranged his own bed, changed the bedsheets, the pillowcase, and the quilt, and made everything clean and smooth. Wang Dong took a long time in the shower. He was dirty and unkempt from his long journey here, and Hua Yuao also knew that he was a clean freak. He wasn't in a hurry, so he lay down on the mattress on the floor, but he suddenly thought of something when he leaned back. Why did they have to sleep? It had been a long time since they last met. Wasn't it a good idea for them to cultivate with the Haodong power at night? Wang Dong finished bathing at this moment. He was holding a blue towel in his hands that he had clearly brought himself while he used it to dry his damp blue hair. "Hey, you are so quick." Wang Dong exuded a clean and crisp smell after changing into clean clothes as he sauntered over next to the bed. His pajamas were loose and relaxed, and everything just seemed so comfortable. Hua Yuao was still lying down on the ground as he said, "I regretted it immediately after making the bed for you. Why do we have to sleep? We should be cultivating with the Haodong power. Your soul power has reached the rank 60 bottleneck, and you're much stronger than I am. You should guide me in cultivation, and I think my cultivation speed will increase greatly." Wang Dong slid down from the edge of the bed and sat down beside Hua Yuao. Hua Yuao subconsciously turned around and said, "You should sit on top. This is a mattress I typically use when I'm traveling outside, so it isn't that clean. I changed everything on the bed, and I set them out in the sun a few days ago." He finished talking, but he realized that there was something wrong with Wang Dong's eyes, so he asked subconsciously, "What's wrong?" Wang Dong raised his hand and rubbed Hua Yuao's head. "Promise me that we won't cultivate tonight, and we'll get a good night's worth of sleep. Aren't you happy that I'm here? I hope you can carry this excitement into your sleep, and I'm too exhausted as well. There are 2 people who I know that look much older than their actual age. One is Bei Bei, who lost teacher Xiaoya, and then there's you. You have been exhausting and exerting yourself too much, and it's not good if you don't give yourself time to rest. There is no limit for soul power cultivation and soul tool research, and you will collapse sooner or later if you don't give yourself enough rest and relaxation. This is also a reason why I came to find you, and why I asked you to accompany me home. I hope that you can take a break. Who knows, that might even be beneficial for your cultivation." Wang Dong's hand was extremely warm as he placed it on Hua Yuao's head, and it felt comfortable for Hua Yuao. More importantly, Hua Yuao could feel the deep-seated concern and worry in Wang Dong's words. "All right, I'll listen to you, and we won't cultivate today. We'll get a good night's rest. I'm going to bathe." Hua Yuao leapt to his feet as he spoke and strode into the bathroom. Hua Yuao leaned against the wall once he shut the door, and tears poured forth uncontrollably as he forcibly suppressed himself so that he didn't bawl out loud. "Yes." Only he knew the immense pressure that he carried on his shoulders. He had entered a half-crazed state ever since Elder Mu had died, and had put too much pressure on himself. He seemed no different from anybody else on typical days, but the pressure that he felt was just so tiring and exhausting. Wang Dong's arrival and his words of consolation finally released the tension in Huo Yuao's heart. The tightly wound knot inside Huo Yuao was finally melted and softened by the warmth of kinship and love. Even men cried, but they repressed their emotions deep within their heart when there was a heavy burden on their shoulders because they didn't want others to see their weakness. Huo Yuao was still a youth. He wasn't truly a grown man yet. However, he was precocious and had matured a lot quicker than normal people did. He bawled for a moment longer before he stepped under the shower and took off his clothes. He let the warm water rinse and course over his body, as both his physical and mental fatigue seemed to dampen and dissolve as the warm water trickled down. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.